Hello learners, I welcome you all to this course on Education, Concept, Nature and Perspectives. The course code of this course is BESC 131. Today we will be having the lesson Concept and Scope of Educational Psychology. Before starting with this, I would like to introduce myself. Dr. Rajlakshmi Raina, Assistant Professor, Amity Institute of Behavioral and Allied Sciences, Amity University. Learners, today this is week 13 and we will be learning module 13. The title of this module is Understanding Education from Psychological Perspective. In this module, we will be having two lessons. First is Concept and Scope of Educational Psychology and the next one is Methods of Educational Psychology. Before beginning this lesson, I would like to discuss with you the learning outcomes of this lesson. I am sure after learning the module, you will be able to define the concept of educational psychology. You will also be able to establish the relationship between psychology and education, and also you will be able to discuss the scope of educational psychology. So learners, let us first of all see what is the concept of educational psychology. As you see from this word itself, educational psychology, it is derived from two words. First, education, and the second one is psychology. When we define education, education is what? It is the modification of behavior. And what is psychology? Psychology is the study of behavior. Therefore, educational psychology is the study of behavior in educational settings. Educational psychology is that field of study where the practical applications of the knowledge of psychology are put into use in the field of education. Or we can say it deals with the application of theories of psychology, the different principles which are there in psychology and the different techniques. And all these theories, these principles, these techniques are there to understand human behavior in educational situations. As has been already defined by the educationalists, we have Skinner. Skinner has said educational psychology is that branch of psychology which deals with teaching and learning. Even if you see the definition given by Crow and Crow has emphasized that educational psychology describes and explains the learning experiences of an individual from birth through old age. Therefore, in the view of these given definitions, we can deduce that educational psychology deals broadly with the learner, the nature of learning, growth of human personality, differences among individuals, and the study of the person in relation to society or educational environment. So learners, first of all, we need to understand what is the relationship between education and psychology. So if you see, psychology is the science of behavior and is closely related to teaching learning process. Behavior of children can be molded in the desired direction with the knowledge of psychology. The knowledge of educational psychology is really necessary to modify the actions of the learners or to shape their conduct and personality in the desired direction. Therefore, if you see, psychological principles, they help in understanding almost all the aspects of education. If you take one by one, let us see first aims of education. It helps us to frame the aims of education, the objectives of education, and also helps in achieving those aims of education. It helps in curriculum construction. It helps in different ways how according to the learner, according to the subject, according to the environment, what all should be there in the curriculum. What is the need? How the student can construct knowledge. It again deals with the another element of education. If we see textbooks, what all should be there, what all should be the features of a good textbook. So it is all these principles are describing, they help us to prepare good textbooks. Then again, different methods of teaching. We as teachers, we need to use different methods, and for that we need to understand our content, we need to understand our learner. And according to the learner, we emphasize, we pick up the right method, the right technique, the right approach. And here comes the psychology, which helps us in selecting the appropriate method for teaching our students. Then again, if you see the discipline, once you understand your student, once you understand your learner, it becomes very easy for you to maintain the discipline in the classroom. It also helps us in preparing the timetable, which is utmost important whenever we talk of teaching learning. It also helps us in the school administration, in the planning. Also, if you see how we need to assess the learner, because if you talk of teaching learning process, it is incomplete without evaluation. And here psychology helps us in different, it gives us different tools of assessment. So it helps us in evaluation. Again, if you see the psychological principles, they help us to understand research, how we can find different solutions to different problems which we face in our classroom. And then the very important stakeholder of education is the teacher. There are different attributes which a teacher should have to become an effective teacher, and the psychology comes to the help of a teacher. So if you see the application of psychological principles in education, then principles and theories developed in psychology are really applied to different educational situations. The psychological principles are taken into consideration while preparing the curriculum. The age, the interest, the aptitude, the abilities of the learners, the individual differences which we find in the classroom, they all are considered while we are planning the curriculum. Also, the methods of teaching techniques, as well as the motivational techniques used by the teachers, they are based on the theories and principles of educational psychology. If you see psychology, it really helps in finding different solutions to different educational problems. We do different types of research and different methods, you get from psychology. Let us talk of timetable. So school timetable is also prepared keeping in mind the psychological principles. If you want to have an effective school administration and organization, it also needs the knowledge of psychology. There are different types of children in our classroom. We have exceptional children also. And here, the knowledge of psychology helps us to study the behavior of all these children. It also helps us in dealing with different problems of discipline which we find in our day-to-day classroom. Educational psychology provides knowledge about the mental health of the teacher. How you need to be emotionally balanced, how you need to take yourself, how you need to carry yourself in the classroom, how you need to behave yourself in the classroom, how should be your relation with your students. So it talks about so many parameters. Again, psychology provides knowledge about evaluation. Now if you see at every step we have continuous evaluation. We have to assess our students because that not only gives you the feedback of your student but also the feedback of how you are dealing with your lesson. Are you really able to achieve your objectives? Do you need to reframe your objectives? So there are so many things when it comes to evaluation. It is helping you for a better learning in the school. So if you see, there is a lot of utility of educational psychology for the teachers. If I talk broadly, it helps you to understand the developmental characteristics of the student. It helps you to understand the hereditary. It helps you in different learning processes. It helps you as a teacher to understand the individual differences. It helps you in developing the personality of your student, in understanding the exceptional children in your classroom. For effective teaching learning, if you want to have effective teaching learning in your classroom, it comes to your help. mental health, curriculum construction, learning methods, teaching methods, and preparation of timetable, discipline, different TLMs what we prepare. Here also, if you see the principles of psychology, they play a great role. Managing the effective educational administration in the school. Measurement and evaluation, guidance and counseling, especially for our students, to guide them. So here if you see, there is immense utility of educational psychology for the teacher. You understand the growth and development of the children. There are different characteristics which are, and at the different stages, like let us say the infancy, let us say the childhood, let us say the adolescence. At different stages, there are different types of characteristics. And we as teachers, we need to understand the behavior according to the characteristics at different stages. So it is psychology which helps us in understanding the growth and development of our children. Not only that, according to that, it helps us in designing our teaching learning strategies, in selection of the appropriate methods, techniques, or how we need to follow the maxims of teaching. As per the individual needs, as per the differences, we can select an appropriate method for our classroom. It not only helps in, appropriate selection of, but then also according to what is the need, how you can develop the personality of the student, how you can understand your class as a whole, how you can understand the individual. It helps you to study their mental status, and definitely this will give you an edge to guide them properly, to counsel them properly, to find out different solutions for their problems. So if you see, there is immense scope of educational psychology. Educational psychology, it deals with the stakeholders of education as well as the processes of education. So here I would like to discuss the parameters like the scope of educational psychology for learners, for the learning experiences, for the learning processes, for the learning environment and the teacher. Now if I take one by one, first let us discuss what is the scope for the learner. So if you see, it is educational psychology which equips the teacher with understanding the learner. The stages of development, when we talk of stages of development, there we have social development, we have emotional development, we have intellectual development, we have physical development, and so on and so forth. So according to this, we need to change our techniques. We need to see what is good, how you can achieve your outcome, how you can achieve your objectives. So it helps you to understand your learner as a whole. And thus, it also provides the knowledge of individual differences, the intelligence, you can say IQ, the EQ, the adjustment problems which the students may have in the classroom, his abilities, his capacities, the way he thinks, his attitude, his aptitude, the interest, where the student is interested in. Like when we start with our lesson, we always should take care that yes, it is interesting, it is motivating. Until and unless it is interesting, it is motivating, students will never attend to your lesson. So this is what we get from psychology. It tells you the whole attributes of your learner. It tells you about his creativity, his mental health, his self-concept. Not even the conscious behavior, but if you see, it also tells you about the unconscious behavior of your student. There are several research which you can do. It also tells you how your student behaves in the group behavior of your student. So if you see, there are different types of learning experiences which again we can plan with the help of educational psychology. And it helps the teacher in selecting that appropriate technique, that method with the help of which we can transact that learning experience in the classroom. It also helps in deciding the kinds of learning experiences which are desirable. At different stages there are different types of learning experiences. So what is appropriate at a particular stage, that is what the learning experience we can give to our students, and that is what educational psychology helps us in. Again, if you see the learning process, which is again a very key element in teaching learning, educational psychology helps a teacher in planning and implementing the teaching learning activities. Teacher makes use of these laws. You must have studied about the laws of learning. So this is how we use all those laws, those principles, those theories in learning. It helps us in our teaching learning activity. There are even other processes in learning, such as, from psychology we learn about memorizing, we learn about forgetting, we understand the concept of development, the problem solving abilities, thinking, ways how one can analyze things, the transmission of learning, how we can have a positive learning, how we can have, what are the different ways by which the learning can be done in the classroom. It actually facilitates and it makes your learning more and more efficient. This is how you can implement teaching learning in learning activities in your classroom. So it definitely helps in the processes how you can actually implement. So we are using all those principles of psychology here in the classroom, and this is leading to an effective classroom. This is helping you to achieve your objectives as a teacher. Then again, it not only helps in the processes, but how should be the environment of the classroom. How you need to create the environment of the classroom. It helps the teacher to create that environment. Because if you are not having a healthy environment in the classroom, the teacher, whatsoever maybe your content, maybe your method of teaching, but you will never achieve your objectives. So you have to give that conducive environment to your learner. So educational psychology, it helps the teacher to create that environment for efficient student learning, by providing the knowledge of conducive conditions for learning, the classroom environment, your group size. You have to take care of the size of your class. You have to see that you are able to pay attention to every student of your class. The media, the way you are, now if you see teaching learning, we use ICT in our teaching learning. So the media, how you're using, how you are inculcating those techniques in the class, how you're supporting your learning, the way you are counseling, you're practicing those techniques in the classroom, and with the help of those techniques, how you're evaluating. So if you see the overall learning situation, the overall environment, that should be a very healthy, a very conducive conditions for the learner to learn. If the environment is good, if it is healthy, definitely the learner will enjoy, your student will enjoy in the class. And he will attend to whatever you are, you want him. That is how you can change the behavior. You can attain the behavior which is desirable behavior of your learner, whatever you want him to do, whatever you want him to inculcate in himself. Then, most important, the teacher. Now here again, if I say, to become an effective teacher, it is very important that you have the knowledge of psychology. That's why you see in all the teacher training programs, this is a very important course. We all have to study psychology, because this educational psychology, it helps the teacher to take part in the teaching learning processes effectively. It definitely specifies the role of the teacher. What is our role? How we need to go about with those roles? What is our responsibility? How we need to, at every step it directs us. At every step it helps us. It tries to make us, with the help of the knowledge, we can become very effective, very efficient teacher. So it specifies your role of teacher in teaching learning process. It throws light on the personality, the traits, what are the good qualities of a teacher, the interests, the abilities, the attitude, even, if you have a conflict, there also it comes to manage that conflict. The knowledge of educational psychology will definitely help you. The different, your motivation level, your anxiety, adjustment level of aspiration, and all these characteristics, they should be balanced if you want to become a successful teacher. And here, educational psychology comes to your help. So this is one of the important scope of educational psychology. So students, I hope this lesson or this session will be very useful to you, and after this you will definitely be able to understand what the concept of educational psychology. You must have understood what is the relationship, why we say education and psychology, they go hand in hand. What is the relationship between education and psychology? How psychology plays a very important role in education to make it effective. At every point, all the parameters of education, if we see, this is a pivot around which everything is revolving. And I am sure that you will be able to explain the importance of educational psychology for a teacher. This is, a very good, you can say, tool in the hands of a teacher to make himself effective, to make his classroom effective, to make him achieve the objectives which he has set for his classroom, for his learner. And this is how he can achieve, he can change the behavior of his student. He can make them a good citizen. And also, I am very much hopeful that after going through this session, you must have understood the scope of educational psychology. You must have understood how educational psychology is very helpful in all the dimensions of education, like when we spoke of evaluation, it helps us there, it helps us in the curriculum framing, it helps us in the teaching strategies, in different methods which we use in our classroom, and it also tries to help us to understand different characteristics of a student at different levels, at different ages, all the developmental stages. So thank you, learners. I hope this session will be at most utility to you. Thank you very much.